A different perspective, a new insight into life, a nugget of positivity and a hidden truth, and maybe an amusement for you. Welcome to From My Standpoint, a twice-a-month podcast with your host, Josh C. Jones.
Hey, I appreciate you tuning in again to From My Standpoint. I'm your host, Josh C. Jones. If this is your first time tuning in, then I thank you. And if it's not, well, thank you for coming back. So either way, I really do thank you. And do not forget that if you prefer to read, I suggest you check out the show notes that will sometimes be put there on the website at www.fromtheirstandpoint.com. That's from THEIR standpoint.com, where I will sometimes add some extra information and links that may not be in the podcast itself. And also, do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe to From My Standpoint. And also share these episodes. Please share these episodes. All right, thank you. Because you are in for a treat.
Why? Is someone else speaking?
Random voice of questions. When did you become a comedian? No, but seriously, what I was going to talk about has since turned into really a three-parter. So yeah, that's one, two, and so on and so forth. You know how the rest of that goes. Now, what I'm talking about is, I first read this on Facebook, and someone shared it, as things usually go on social media apps. Someone shared it. It just randomly, showed up on my feed, and I really do wish I could remember who it was that shared it, but unfortunately, I read it, thought it was really good, scrolled past it, and then didn't give it another thought until a while later. And by then, I'd already forgotten who shared it. You know how things go. But anyway, what I'm going to talk about is, I think, a wonderful proverb that truly does stand the test of time, and it really does hold true from generation to generation.
It is universal and almost too obvious.
Yeah. Thank you, Random Voice of Reason. That it is. You are absolutely right there, I think. And it is also stuff that, most of us know, or we should know. Most of us tend to repeat to others as wisdom. And then most of us tend to just easily forget. As we are all aware, life is fleeting. We are here today and then gone tomorrow. Our time is a blink of an eye when you compare it to the timeline of humanity. As Kansas says in their hit song, all we are is dust in the wind. And yet, life is also the longest thing any of us actually has or will ever have on this earth, because life is with us from the day we are conceived until the day we pass. And even though we sometimes like to think that, life and the opportunities in life and what life has to offer will come back to us if we are not ready, willing, able, or attentive in those times, there are things that we can never get back. And this is why patience and discipline and wisdom and control, self-control over our emotions is so very important. And yet, they are so difficult to obtain and hold on to on our own. That self-control over our emotions. Maybe that is why it says in Galatians 5:22 through 23, the fruit of the Spirit, that is the fruits of God, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Because we cannot keep control over our emotions all on our own. It's too difficult for us. Sure, we like to feel enlightened. Every one of us likes to feel enlightened and feel smart. We like to appear special because we all have our special needs. We desperately have that desire to be valued. Those of us that are, that are here, that were allowed to be born after being conceived, that have that choice, we desperately desire to be valued. And we have what sometimes seems as an unquenchable need to be heard. And in such, we relinquish self-control and we justify our emotional responses in the name of righteousness and passion. And so, after we do that, we are oftentimes left dumbfounded at the negativity our emotional responses, might have stirred, and we question other people's allegiances and values when they do not react the same as we do with their emotional passion, and we confound a situation through our lack of self-control with our feelings and our emotions, rather than seeking and accepting the truth, context, the facts. And then we shame others who do not act in the self-ascribed righteousness as us. And in the heat of what we call passion, in the name of what we call righteousness, we hurl and sling and spit and act and post that which we cannot get back. And we miss that which will never, ever, ever return.
Life is made of moments, and moments are made by us.
Yeah, that it is, Random Voice of Reason. That it is. Now, there may be more than just these 4 things in this Proverbs of wisdom that you find or you can think to add later. But for me in this particular show and the following episodes, in this 3-parter, there are only 4 things that you cannot get back. And so the first thing that no one can get back after it has left them, is the stone after it is thrown. Now, as we know, a stone is solid, right? It is firm, and yet it is also something that can be shapeable. It is something that impacts. And once that impact occurs, it cannot be undone, and the object it impacts is forever reshaped, even if just a little bit, just a little, like a small chisel or a dent or a chip or a scar. And our actions, our behavior, our words, our character, these are all things that make an impact on the world, a great impact on the world.
I done didn't know so many folk who act out of them emotions and feelings to that point of rage and anger and them filthy speaking, and they justify them actions and them words as passion, because they say they passionate. Yep. I also don't see folk do that all the time on them social media. Yep.
Yep. That they do, Random Voice of Common Sense. That they do.
Just to clarify, when most people use the word passion, they are typically meaning enthusiasm, joy, dreams, or an intense desire. But the real meaning is suffering.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting, Random Voice of Reason. Thank you for that. And so if you lose control of your emotions and you do or say something out of anger or hate or fear or any other emotion, then you are really suffering or submitting control to external forces, and in return being forced by your own choice to endure the negative consequences of that submission by your choice. Now, who knows, maybe you look at this differently. As we know, perceptions might differ, but the truth remains the same. The truth is always the truth, no matter what. It doesn't matter how many lies someone tells, the truth is always the truth. Anyway, if left unchecked, if left to the guise of passion, if left to the falsehood of righteousness, If left to the control of our feelings and emotions, and then our words will fly like sharpened arrows, and they will just rip through the soul and mental state of those we're throwing them at. Our actions will impact another life, and it could very well be with the negative and devastating force of such as a sledgehammer to drywall, fracturing or destroying their livelihood, their trust, their spirit. And our behavior, it will be reshaped like clay pottery in the hands of a vexatious potter. That it will.
We don't always have to be like this, do we?
No, not at all, Random Voice of Questions, not at all. I mean, we can learn and practice patience, discipline, wisdom, and self-control over our emotions so that we instead build and strengthen another's soul and mental state. And instead impact another's life with love and positivity, and instead reshape our behavior to that of integrity and good. We can do that.
Humility and meekness play a huge role in self-control.
I agree, Random Voice of Reason. I absolutely agree. Humility and meekness play a huge role in self-control. You can't get that pride in the way. People that are just so prideful, they do not have that humility and meekness, and they don't typically have that self-control. And like a stone that is thrown in the pond, what we do and what we say, it causes ripples that will be felt and that will have some effect on us and others and life. It is similar to that principle or chaos theory, the butterfly effect, where they say, one small change can make a bigger and more intense change occur. Such as, like an example here would be a word said in one moment of anger. One moment of anger, just one word. And said in a moment of anger and time could result in a bigger and more intense occurrence of anger in a later time, like an abusive person. Let's just say there's an abusive person walking down the street, and they just get yelled at and cursed at by a stranger on the street who is just projecting their anger, their lack of self-control onto that abusive person. We would say that's just like the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, then that abusive person, in full anger and rage from being yelled at and cursed at for absolutely no reason that they can determine, they then go home and they take their anger and their rage out in a bigger, more intense version out on their spouse through physical aggression. Now, like I said, this is one example, and that's probably just a wild example, but the point still remains there.
Remember, becoming just like wickedness in order to fight wickedness is a sure way for both to perish.
That is really good, Random Voice of Reason. That is really good. People do wicked to you. I mean, don't retaliate. Don't drop to their level of wickedness and evil. And just don't let the world bring you down to their level of just not having a good character at all. And having no compassion, no care, no truth, no true logic, no solid foundation. Don't let them bring you down to that, to where you're wicked just like them in order to fight their wickedness. That kind of goes along with another episode I have in the future about justice and stuff, where injustice in the name of justice does not breed justice. It just breeds more injustice. Being wicked in the name of fighting wickedness does not bring good. It just brings more wickedness. All you're doing is growing that wickedness. But let me get back to this one. So we may never really truly know how far in time, it ripples, or how weak or powerful that wave will be when it impacts another life. But it will travel, and the impact will make some sort of a difference.
We choose our words and actions and behavior. We choose the rock that we throw, even when our emotions lead us to misbehavior. It is still our choice to follow.
That is really good. I'm going to take that, and I want to repeat that. If you don't mind. Thank you. We choose our words and actions and behavior. We choose the rock that we throw. When our emotions lead us to misbehavior, it is still our choice to follow. We can't blame it on the emotions. It's still our choice. It's still our choice to follow. So, the question here is, do you want to make a negative and possibly hurtful or damaging impact in your life? How about in someone else's life? Do you want to be the ripple that pushes someone over the edge? Do you want to be the ripple that helps bring the world down? Or do you want to make a positive and uplifting difference in your life? And how about in someone else's life? Do you want to be the ripple that pushes someone forward into a better, more prosperous and successful and happier life? Do you want to be the ripple that lifts the world up? You're going to have to answer that. Now, for me, I, for one, want to be, and I'm trying to be, a good and positive and uplifting impact on the world. And sometimes it is certainly not easy at all. Like, I've had conversations where people told me, hey, you want to be positive and uplifting, but you're not showing the type of love that we think you should be showing. And they say, you say you want to show God's love. Isn't God all loving? He's what's that word? Unconditional love. And I look at them and I say, absolutely, God is unconditional love. God is unconditional love. I'm not God. Do I look like God? No, that was probably off there. But like I said, sometimes it's not easy. You want to love people, but boy, do they make it so hard. But with the help of those I love and trust, that being God first and foremost, Yahweh, the God of the Bible, and then my family and friends, and through the relationships, built with them, I certainly increase my chances of reaching this very, very, very ambitious goal. And I hope you have a similar goal, and I pray you will reach that goal too. Thank you for listening to From My Standpoint. And don't forget to check out the other great shows at FromTheirStandpoint.com. And if you even slightly liked what you've heard on these shows, then please, please, please rate, review, and share. You can find From My Standpoint on your favorite podcasting service, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Libsyn, and many, many others. And if you have not subscribed yet, then I encourage you to subscribe to From My Standpoint so you'll be informed of any future episodes that are out. And you can follow me on Facebook at FM Standpoint, on Instagram at From My Standpoint, or visit the website www.fromtheirstandpoint.com. That's from THEIR standpoint.com, and click on my show, From My Standpoint. Thank you. And now, what you've all been waiting for. It's the wisdom of Dad Joke. Throwing stones and causing ripples. Humans are notorious for hurling stones and causing ripples in life. None of us are immune from this, so if you really do feel the need to throw a stone, then please, only throw diamonds.
This has been From My Standpoint, a podcast to find a nugget of positivity and a hidden truth, encouraging and enlightening insight, entertaining a new perspective, and providing an amusement for you. We hope you were entertained, encouraged, enlightened, and enjoyed the show.